yesterday he comes out on Instagram. Now, the reason why he's come out on Instagram and he said, look, I've left Mahindra with immediate effect, which sort of like hinted that the rumours with Porsche are true. But what was interesting in that statement was that there was no, he's not joining Porsche like immediately. And the reason why, Jack, he's left immediately is because contracts run out at the end of July. Okay, so contracts run out at the end of July, but we will be racing in August, right? So basically, at the end of July, when after the last race, which should have been in London, the 22nd, 23rd, whenever it was of in London, I think it was a bit later than that. I think I've managed to put a day in the midweek somewhere, but that last weekend basically of July before it went into August, and then they would have had a week where the contracts would have just run out at the end of July on the last day, and then August they could have signed for anyone. But because now we're racing in August, Jack, potentially to finish the season, contracts are up, so it's easy for teams to grab people now.
Yeah, no, unlike most series, I think Formula E does a certain period, like a certain period of contract, like a bit like you do with your phone. Even someone like Daniel Abt, who is now not in the sport, but his contract was due to run out in July, and I think the general consensus, even before this whole erupted, was that he was not going to be re-signed. With the way that that's done, it does free up the opportunity for drivers to go looking elsewhere. And for Porsche, it meant that they could get Neil Gianni out of the Formula E car a little bit earlier than was expected. I do feel for Neil because he has had a pretty rotten career in Formula E. He came in with Dragon in season 4, and it was a tragic weekend. I think I saw a tweet from Hazel Southwell yesterday saying that he said on that day that it was his toughest day that he's ever had in racing. And yeah, this season hasn't been much better. I think he may have scraped like a top 15 a couple times in qualifying, and then had a few top 15s in the race, but he hasn't scored a point. And I think Porsche were always looking for someone else for season 7, and they've gone for Pascal Wehrlein.
The thing that I found interesting though, Jack, is that he's not potentially driving for the rest of the season in Porsche. He could leave and have to wait till season 7 to actually start because Porsche haven't actually announced yet. That's the thing. Like, he's announced that he's left Mahindra, but there's been no official announcement from Porsche that he's signed for Porsche, basically, Wehrlein, and that Neil Yanni has left, or what the situation is for the end of the season. So it could be that Neil Yanni continues the rest of the season and Pascal Wehrlein just has to wait till season 7 starts.
Yeah, no, that is quite possible. I think it would be nice to have Neil Yanni to complete a couple more races, even though that as I said, his career has not been great at all in Formula E. It would be nice to see him complete a couple more races before he leaves the sport, probably for good this time. This is something that is still unfolding as we're speaking. Who knows? Like, by the time this gets released, there might have been more stuff, but yeah, as we know it, Pascal Airline just won't race for Mahindra. I think it's more of a when, not if. If Wehrlein goes to Porsche, but one thing for sure, it'll be nice to see him up against Andre Lotterer next year.
Obviously, it's a big move for Wehrlein. Like, this is now him like a factory driver at Porsche again. Obviously, he was at Mercedes. He technically like a factory driver there when he was at DTM, but now he's in an official factory role. But what in terms of Neil Yanni, which is what we were talking about in previous episodes, and we mentioned it about rookies. Like, they're not going to get the time anymore to bed into the series. If it's not going well, then boom, you're going to get chopped.
Well, yeah, we've just with Neil Yanni, yeah, it's been unfortunate for him. It means that he can't do it. Well, it's looking likely that he won't be doing any more races in Formula E. I do think that there will be a couple of drivers that are safe. So someone like James Collado, who hasn't done amazingly this year, I still think he'll keep the seat. Nico Muller, there's rumours about Audi, but I don't think he's going to go there for season 7. And Brendan Hartley, who is a Porsche driver, has kind of been overlooked for that second seat at Porsche, but neither of them have done that well. I believe that's all the rookies from this year. But yeah, no, they I reckon that Neil Yarni is the only one who's not done fantastically. I mean, the others have not been amazing, but I feel like they've done well enough. So I don't think Nico Muller's got any points, but he showed, I think, in Marrakesh and Mexico, 2 fantastic qualifying laps. Brendan Hartley got points in Diriyah. James Clardo got points in Diriyah and Santiago as well. Obviously not as good as his teammate Mitch, but I think he's still done a very good job for this season, and I think all of them should find themselves in a seat next year.
Yeah, but for Pascal Wehrlein, if once this is confirmed, like this is a move and a half. Like this is a really good move, good stepping stone for other things potentially that Porsche might be doing in the future. And he's got a top line manufacturer drive he was with one, you could say, with Mahindra, but we'll get onto that in 2 seconds. But now he's with a proper top team, going into the future.
Yeah, Porsche's shown flashes of brilliance over the last season, and I think that will only get better over the coming years. And we've seen it with like Jaguar, who came in season 3. They had one rocky season, and then they had I think they got their first podium in season 4, but then it wouldn't be until season 5 that they. I'm just making sure I get this correct. Yeah, season 5 Rome that they won. Trying to think, was it season 4? But no, I was there. Bird won. But yeah, it will take time for the likes of Mercedes and Porsche. But because it's Formula E, you just don't know what's going to happen, which is what I love about this sport. But yeah, no, I think that next year they could be fighting for the odd race when they've shown this year that they've been capable of pole positions, like Andre Lotter in Mexico, and Andre stood on the podium in Porsche's first ever race, and so I think bringing on Wehrlein, it does mean that they're going to have a stronger place in the team's championship because it's so competitive. Porsche kind of being weighed down a bit by Neil Yarni. So with Pascal Wehrlein in there, I think it's going to be even. I think they're going to be even higher up the championship order.